Hi, and thank you for visiting my YouTube channel. This is Timothy, and today I've got 8 minutes to talk about this concept of blind faith. I've heard people, when I say, yeah, I'm a Christian, and people go, couldn't do that. Why not? And he says, well, that's blind faith. How could anybody fall for that? And I go, blind faith. Okay. I hear it in the media. I see it in films. I hear people talk about it. But I never, ever, ever hear about anybody talking about what the word faith actually means in the New Testament. No one wants to talk about that. Well, I got 8 minutes to talk about Christianity and the word faith in the New Testament. And I'm telling you, I got to rock and roll and row this trimarine all the way to Crete. Okay? The following part of this YouTube video is not Baptist or evangelical or any other person from any other religion that has sensitive feelings about certain things about the human condition. I'm going to read something out of a fellow by the name of Achilles Tatius. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard of a guy by the name of William Shakespeare, but he wrote a play called Midsummer Night's Dream. Taken a lot of courses on Shakespeare. I've never heard anyone talk about the origins of where William Shakespeare got some of his inspiration. Tatius Achilles, probably in Alexandria, he probably lived in about middle of the 2nd century. He was a Hellenistic Greek. And he wrote love stories. They are romantic comedies, and they are absolutely hilarious. We have one. Did he write others? We don't know. We know very little about the man, if anything at all. But here, in chapter 6, he writes, little background. Young man, handsome, young, daring, dashing, beautiful, beautiful woman. Obedient to her father, obedient to her mother, and patiently waiting for her marriage. The night before they get married, she's kidnapped by pirates and taken from one side to the other side, of the Mediterranean to trade her or sell her to the highest bidder. And the story is about that the young and brave and dashing, daring man chasing these pirates, other pirates, from one side of the Mediterranean to the other. Eventually, he gets captured himself by an older, mature woman who is left alone a lot by her husband, who just happens to be the general of the region of Ephesus. I believe it's Ephesus. She called me on that one. And she tricks him into coming into her boudoir. But the reason is she has how does Achilles Tatius put it? She has an ailment, serious ailment that only the attentions of a young and dashing man could cure her. So she begs him to apply his medical treatment. That's how Tatius puts it. But then her husband comes home, who's a general with an army. Chapter 6. Chapter 6, verse 1, section 1, whatever you want to call it. And she dresses him up in one of her dresses, hands him a big bag of gold, but then she says, Deje auf ton Piston. Piston. There's that word. And what she says is, my husband is home. Here, put on one of my dresses. You know, the Middle Eastern thing. Here, take this bag of gold, and I will give you my most trusted maiden. She didn't translate that, my most faithful maiden. The translators of that took that word Pistis and translated it, not faithful, but trust. Now, what is trust? Isn't trust is something that comes from experience. Go ahead, I'll lend you the money. It's okay. Pay me when you see me because I trust you. It's a much stronger word when it comes to experiential relationship with people. Where I lend you something, you lend me something. Okay, hey, I had a neighbor come by. Can I borrow your lawnmower? Sure, come by. And he says, I'll bring it by tomorrow. I said, I don't care when you bring it by. Just bring it by. I'll clean it for you. You just use it and bring it back someday. Why? Because I know my neighbor. I know him very well. I've known him a short time, but I know him very well. When he says he's going to bring back my lawnmower, he's going to bring back my lawnmower. If he has to hire a team of Marines to get me back my lawnmower, he's going to get me back my lawnmower. So why? Because I trust him. Why? Because of my experience with him. Achilles Tatius, chapter 6, paragraph 1, I think it's line 6. Read it to you again. Nobody's going to believe it. This is Hellenistic Koine Greek. It's the same Greek in the New Testament. Here you go. And she says, de hen arteton piston. And then I will call my most trusted maidservant, and you're going to walk out of my house like two women. I'm going to get you down to the harbor, and I'm going to get you on that boat and get you out of here, and here's your bag of gold. New Testament. Chronologically speaking, when's the first time that word faith is used? Chronologically, not in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. But in the story of Jesus, when's the first time the word is used? John chapter 2, 2:11. And then you have kar epistusan es auto hor mathetai auto. Now that's the verb of the same word. Okay. Jesus and his disciples went to the wedding. Well, how'd they get there? They take a cab? They didn't know each other? They met on the way? No, they knew each other. They'd eaten together. They had breakfast together. They had dined together. They walked. You ever been hiking with somebody? 20 miles? You ever been backpacking with somebody for 20 miles? I'll tell you what, after 20 miles, you get to know each other pretty well. They're on the way to Cana. But it's after the wedding. We ran out of wine. What do you mean we ran out of wine? Don't worry about it. Fill the cisterns with water. Fill them with water. And his disciples saw him do that. And John records that after they saw him change the water into wine, then they had Pistis auto. They had faith in him. Romans, Paul says, faith comes from reading the word. I had a young woman quoted me on that once. Oh, no. Faith comes from reading the word. And I said, which manuscript are you reading that from? And she was like, what? I said, yeah, which manuscript are you reading? Faith comes from hearing the word of Jesus, or faith comes from reading the word of God. Which one is closer to the oldest manuscripts, my friend? And her eyes blew out of her head. Part of the problem with that passage in Romans is the oldest manuscripts don't agree. Is that faith comes from hearing the utterances of Christ, or reading the words of God. In Greek, it's hard to translate. Which one is which? If a better reading is faith comes from hearing the utterances of Christ, that fits in with Paul not believing in Jesus until wham! He gets hit on the head with a lightning bolt and hears the voice of Jesus. That adds. But faith comes from reading the word of God doesn't really fit if faith came to Paul after Jesus spoke to him on the road to Damascus. Doesn't really fit, does it? So it's an odd thing to say. John, the word pistis, is the disciples had pistis, trust in Jesus, after they saw him do that. Paul had pistis in Jesus after he heard his voice, and that's according to Acts. So next time somebody says Christians believe in blind faith, you could say, what Christians are you talking about? Because not this one. And that, I gotta go. We're out of time. Thank you so much. If you got any questions about that, or want to argue with me, or trash me, or bash me, put them in the message. Go ahead. I double dog dare you. Thank you. Pistis means trust. Never has meant blind faith.